it till the end. I'd like to call the instruction committee to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the April 21st minutes.
Motion, second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. In the backup there are the list of field trips, 4 or 5 pages of field trips. Any questions on those? Pretty self-explanatory stuff. Okay, moving on. Summer school review.
Right now, there are 188 students enrolled in the K-4, 36 in grade 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12 are based on their ending grades, so we won't have those numbers until the end of June.
Great.
Is there a catch-up?
Questions?
No, everybody.
Ms. Stokes?
Yeah, anyone can come, it doesn't necessarily have to be, yeah, it's open to everyone.
Is that based on learning loss, or is that based on failing grades?
No, it's actually just based on choice, family choice. If they want their students to come, they come, and if they don't, it is not restricted to students that are struggling. Anyone can come for additional enrichment or.
What are the hours?
It is 8:30 to 11:30, and it includes lunch and transportation.
So, but you don't have a report on the high school because you're waiting for the grades to come
So
out?
high school is different, they do credit recovery, so their summer school is for students that have failed a class. That's why we don't have those numbers yet. These students are the K through 5 students.
So are we offering summer school for the high school for learning loss?
Yes.
Anyone that failed a class.
What if they didn't fail a class but just feel like they need to get a leg up?
If they have passed all their competencies, then they don't need to do, it's credit recovery, so they don't need to do credit recovery, there's no credits to recover. All students can always take a class like a VLAX or anything if they want over the summer, but the high school program is credit recovery, so.
So we're not, I guess I just want to clarify, so we're not required under like learning loss to support high school and offer them any kind of?
If there's learning loss, it would
They
probably
wouldn't-
show
they
up
would-
in their competencies.
Right, they wouldn't pass a
so-
competency.
Well,
so. Any other questions? Okay, Title I Professional Development Conference.
Mrs. Zolman is here to
Sorry,
share some
hi.
information.
Sorry, Ms.
And-
Ullman, for making you wait for so long.
That's
No,
okay.
And she
That's
also will share
interesting.
on the math as well.
Yeah.
Hello. All right, so I did have some notes. I'm not sure if this is in the backup or we don't have to put it in the backup.
No,
Sorry,
you
Kim.
can just report out.
Yeah, so
Just a
we
quick
had
one.
quickly our ESSA conference, which is the same as Title I. It used to be Title I and now it encompasses all of the different grants, but a lot of SEL type sessions. Ryan from William Allen said that he incorporated some like coffee with the principal that he learned from this conference, and we had guidance counselors there. We had our families in transition coordinator there, so a lot of great things, mental health, SEL type things. And we had somebody present from our district, Jen Sear. She's one of our reading specialists. So she presented our work here in Rochester, so.
What did she present?
It was the science of reading. So we had a couple of reading specialists go and they said the rest of the country is catching on to what we've been doing in Rochester, so
That's awesome.
pretty cool. So that was a great conference. And then I think the next on the agenda, if anyone has questions about the conference, we can go there.
Just a quick
First.
question. Was this an online conference or was this like an in-person?
It was both. It was a hybrid conference, so you could go to New Orleans, and some people chose to do that, or you could do it online.
and can you share what you just had up there? Because
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is it anybody else's and I just didn't get it?
Yeah, I know. I could have just talked about it, but I definitely, I shared it with Kim today, so if you want to put that in, that maybe I
We'll put
did.
it right in the drive
We'll
for
put
you.
it right in the
Thank you.
drive.
I mean, it's interesting to hear from you, but it's also interesting
Yeah.
for me, like, to be able to read
Yeah,
it.
that's a really
And if
nice
you
touch
have-
that you put.
And if you have any questions, let me know, but, yeah.
Yeah.
What are our schools identified as Title I? William Allen,
Yes, we have 5. We have Nancy Loud, we have William Allen, Chamberlain Street School, School Street School, and East Rochester School.
so basically just Northumberland,
And
East Rochester.
Yeah,
Okay.
and, yeah. So it was a great conference. And then the next topic, you want me to just go ahead and start? So
Jump
I
right in.
have some amazing math leaders here with me today, so pull up a chair. We have Andrea Lancey, she's a 4th grade teacher at East Rochester, Megan Wakama, 4th grade at Nancy Loud, and Meredith Tansey is at School Street. And they are the math leaders for 2nd grade, 4th grade, and then Megan is kind of the overall math leader. So I work with a math committee, and they're amazing. I can't say enough about them. So we're here to tell you some updates about math. And here's a timeline that's on the screen. We have been doing everyday math for almost 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
I know, isn't that, I looked at that timeline and I was like, wow, almost 20 years.
So
So,
my question is, what's wrong with it?
right, so everyday math has gone through some updates. So we actually updated to the EM4, it's called, in 2012. Since then, you know, we've continued to look at data, math data, and we just feel that it's time to have something new. There are many,
I don't know what that means. Are the kids not scoring as
Right,
well as they should score?
our data
on
is
state
not
testing
showing.
Or whatever?
our math data is just not showing what we'd like to see. So there are different reasons for that, but there are new programs out there that really offer a lot more than what everyday math has.
New is not always better.
Hmm?
New is not always better.
So the math committee has, I think this came up a couple months ago too, like talking about the math program, and I believe it came up. So we have been reviewing programs actually since 2019, when Mr. Hopkins was here and we sat down and had some overview trainings, and then COVID hit. So we just, you know, continued to do what we could with the kids. We actually just updated our ELA program, so we had to do that. And now we are ready to start looking at math programs. So we, this year we looked at 3, and I'm gonna go on to the next slide here, and I'll have one of my math leads talk about that.
As Heidi just mentioned, we started looking at programs in 2019, and we started that back up again this year. Between March and April, we looked at 3 different programs. They gave us presentations virtually and in person. So we learned about Eureka Math, iReady, and Reveal. And then just in the past month, we sort of narrowed it down to 2 programs that we've decided to pilot for next year. So that's what they're going to talk about next.
So the 2 programs that we are looking at is iReady Classroom Mathematics and Reveal Mathematics. And what we discussed is having the same group of pilot teachers pilot both programs. And the benefit is then one group of teachers doesn't really get on one bandwagon, and then we have a discussion about just what the program that they're using. So we are looking at the same group of teachers, 3 to 4 pilot teachers per grade level, piloting iReady Classroom Mathematics in the beginning of the year from September to December. iReady was chosen to be first because iReady has a pre-assessment component at the beginning of before you start or as you start the program, and then there's benchmark assessments. So in December, we're hoping that we'll hit that first benchmark, so we'll have data from the beginning, the pre-assessment, then the 3 months of the pilot, and then the first benchmark. Then we'll move on to Reveal Mathematics in January to April, and then we'll be able to have a really informed discussion from the same users looking at both programs.
When you say per grade level, what the grade levels are what?
K to 5.
K through 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to elaborate a little bit on iReady in particular, so one of the things, and I think to help answer your question, what's wrong with EM4, it's not that there's anything wrong with it, but these new programs have some really great components, a lot of reflection and collaboration and community building, which I know is something that we've talked about at the social emotional piece, and so these new programs build that, and it's also looking at getting kids to mastery a little bit more consistently and in a more progressive way. And so, for example, iReady actually sent some kits to us, so I happen to have a kit, and I used it. I looked through it at the beginning of April, and I started piloting iReady with my students, and because that's what I do. What I did was I took the remainder of the everyday math skills that my students needed in Unit 9, and I used the iReady program to teach those. And what I don't know, because it's just year 1, but my kids' NEWA scores on math this week. They just took NEWA, they just finished, and I am floored. And as I was watching them, the content in EM4 that's covered in Unit 9, either we're not there yet, or it's not done in depth enough to answer those questions to the level that they need to show they're ready for 3rd grade. And so they were, I'm floored, like I'm like proud mama over here. So I was really pleased with that. And again, I know it's only one program, but they both offer such great, great features and things that I think our students really would benefit from.
They have like flipped lessons too, so one thing was really cool was if the teacher's out or, you know, they have like lessons already done, or if the kids are gone for COVID or other reasons, they can send these lessons home with parents and they can do the work at home. It's kind of like the way our world is right now, so just some nice updates.
Is there?
And we'll answer questions too, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna start off with 3.
Sure.
You mentioned the sending lessons home and whatnot, so you always hear parents complain about everyday math and different this and that. I'm wondering how susceptible either of these are to similar complaints and whatnot. I'm not necessarily saying that it would be bad, but I'm just kind of curious.
It would definitely be challenging to answer that question right now, not really knowing the programs in depth. I think those are things that we need to have on our radar to be aware of and be able to gather that information as we work through the programs.
Okay. How is the transition going to be between December and January from one program to the other? Are they going to be a nice seamless transition?
So there's definitely going to be some work that needs to be done this summer pre-implementation.
Yes.
Or because we want to make sure they're 2 separate programs, and we want to make sure that we've aligned the competencies and the skills that are in each program, because we don't want to create gaps in these classrooms that we are piloting in. We definitely want to make sure that we do that pre-work, and Heidi can probably answer that a little more in depth.
Yeah, so we have both companies are going to work with us. They have a scope and sequence for the whole year for both programs, so we will merge those 2 together.
And I think too, you know, I made the switch. It was my choice, not my kids. And they were super transparent and went with it. And I said, you know, we're just gonna, this is what our plan is, and we're gonna see how this works. I communicated with my families. And I think part of that is the cohort of teachers that we're gonna look for to pilot these are not only experts and, you know, have great feedback and analysis, but also are teachers who build great community with their students and their parents, and that shift will hopefully be seamless because of the groundwork that we do with those kids and families.
And Heidi, you said that a lot of districts are using this process of
Yes,
piloting 2
so I
programs.
did research, and a
there's-
lot of
yeah.
Massachusetts schools are doing this. They're even doing like 3-week pilots. And I was like, we need at least 3 to 4 months just to see, you know, then we can look at data, see how kids respond, parents respond.
And I know one of them, Reveal, is by McGraw-Hill, right? And so
Yeah.
one of the things is sometimes if we only pick one to pilot, we get into the situation of, Reveal looks a lot like everyday math, so it's familiar, it's comfortable. CKLA wasn't necessarily familiar or comfortable, but it's an awesome thing that we did for our kids this year. And so we want to make sure that we have those abilities to make the educated choices that make sense for our students.
Go ahead.
Sorry, do you want to?
Roger? Okay,
Oh, wow.
how is,
Go ahead, Sandy.
when you say 3 to 4 pilots going on, pilot teachers, does that mean everybody in the class is getting it?
Yes, so that means, like say these three ladies were all first grade teachers, we would take 3 out of grade 1, 3 teachers. So all the kids will get it.
In that classroom.
In that
In that classroom,
Yeah.
right, yeah, okay.
So
And so you do have a standard that you can measure by
Yeah.
another classroom that isn't
Yes.
doing the pilot, right?
Yes, yes, yep.
So you'll
Oh,
know
yeah, we'll
whether
have
this,
classrooms that aren't doing the pilot, so we can look at data,
Yeah,
we can look at
right.
how kids are responding,
maybe have a
how the
comparison
companies
diagram.
are, you know, working with us, things like that.
And this is for implementation a year from now, next fall,
In the fall,
this fall?
this fall.
This fall, it's not full implementation, it's pilots, so we're
It's
trying
pilot.
them out.
Right.
And
but
then
when-
the
well,
rest of the
When you
teachers.
make your choice, which is,
It would be fall
so it
of
will be the following school year.
2023.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. So I want to, say thank you for looking into these, because I'm assuming you did this a lot on your off time. It sounds like you guys are all dedicated, and I just want to make sure we let you know that we appreciate it. My concern or my question, and I only have one, which you know I'm not, I have more than one right now.
One part
I have
A,
one,
part
sure, I
B,
have
part
one.
C.
I just wanted to mess with
They
you.
need to get home to eat dinner.
You know, unfortunately, it is what it is. So anyway, so you have a classroom due September to December, correct? Are you then gonna look at the data? Because I guess my question is if they do one pilot and then they do another pilot, how are you basing which one is better? Are you looking for like participation? Are you looking for like increased grades? Are you looking, like I guess, what are the parameters that you're looking for when you come back to us and say, this is the one we've chosen? I'm wondering how you're gonna make that determination.
So
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
So what criteria?
That's great, yeah, so we definitely will go through, there's a whole process that we have, and I can share that with you. There, we followed Ed Reports, which has this, these are both like, all, and Sarah knows, all green on Ed Reports. So both programs are amazing. So I feel very comfortable with having our kids have these programs. So we will use the criteria from Ed Reports, there's a whole process that we go through.
And then my next question is, we all know I have more than one.
I had my hand raised.
my hand was
Karen,
raised
just
and
ask, just ask, please.
So, when you're looking at the other, are you concerned that having these kids in a pilot program are gonna not get the math that they need versus the other kids that are in a continuing math? Do you know what I mean? Like, I wanna make sure that, because we're putting them into this pilot thing, that they're not gonna slide back in math. And I'm assuming they're not going to, and you've thought about that. Say that again?
Yeah, everything attaches back to this, back to the competencies and the standards, right? So, for example, when I switched to iReady, I knew I was getting into subtraction with regrouping in the very last unit of everyday math, and they always take it because there's one lesson on how to do it with base 10 blocks, one lesson on how to do it with the new way, and one lesson on how to do the old way. And then that's it, they move on. And so with iReady, same standard, but we were able to take a week and a half, build, and so they're still getting that same standard. So again, to what Heidi and Andrea and Meg had said, the summer work is gonna be to take the skills and the competencies and build the puzzle so that those kids aren't missing any of the standards that they need to be successful for that grade level.
And to piggyback on what she said, the pilot teachers that are being chosen are very cognizant and aware and know the competencies inside and out. So there are, some of us wrote the competencies. So the work that's being done, we're going to be very aware and cognizant of our teaching and instruction. And utilizing both programs will allow us to have some very informed discussions based on how we implement the program, what happens with the kids and how they interact with the materials, the data, and there'll be lots of discussion surrounding that. We are not looking to create gaps at all. We're looking for seamless
We have personalized
instruction.
learning, so like any gaps, we fill them. We work with the kids, it's
Yeah.
constant. It's, this kid is struggling here, let's come on in and do this with this kid. So we'll still have the amazing instruction that's going on.
And then, seriously, my last question. When you say 3 to 4 pilot teachers per grade level, they're not gonna be all in one school, right? You're
No.
looking at making sure that so we're gonna at least have one pilot class in at least each of our
Yes, so I've
buildings.
been
I just
working
wanted
with
to
the
make sure it wasn't,
principals.
it's all gonna be at this building.
The
or-
principals are actually recommending them to me, and we're going back and forth with, is this teacher ready? Is this teacher, really wants to do this? They're flexible, so,
Perfect. Thank you very much.
yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah, and then Shane.
Thank you. I'm really happy and excited for you guys to be piloting now that we're post-COVID. This is great. I'm happy to see it. One thing that I am curious about, because, can you go back to the,
Yeah.
so you're splitting it up in half of the year.
Mhm.
So my experience with programs is like number and operations is going to be front-loaded in the beginning. Geometry tends to be at the end. So how are you going to be able to compare numbers and operations in both programs and geometry in both programs? Because you may love how iReady implements numbers and operations, but maybe geometry isn't as good as Reveal mathematics.
So we will be working with both companies to go over everything, and, the teachers will still have those materials, so like after we make a decision, they can still pull from those, and then we'll make a decision on how we do that.
And I'm hoping where it's January to April, that it's not so much the secondary competencies really heavily weighted during that second one. There should still be a chunk that's.
So you think you'll be able to pull
Yeah.
number and operations
And
from both?
maybe it's not addition, but it's subtraction in the
Yeah.
other program, so we'll be able to compare.
Okay, great.
Go ahead, Shane.
With implementing this, did we sit down with all the math teachers across the district and get their input and how they feel about it? The general feel, how they're gonna adapt to it, how they're gonna like it? Is everybody on board?
So we're still in
or
the
do
beginning
we-
stages. This is the first stage of piloting.
Okay,
And so when we come back in April, if both programs aren't working, we can say, no, we want to have a third one, we want to go into the next year, we can still adapt. We have not made any decisions. We will have the K through 12 committee, we have a K to 12 math committee. So they'll be coming into classrooms to see the elementary and give feedback.
well, yeah, you got a committee,
But all the teachers,
Are
they do
welcome.
know about this,
are
yes.
they welcome to come and give their input?
Absolutely. So we want them to come in and visit classrooms, and then we'll do surveys.
Okay.
So we'll get everyone involved.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, thank you. I think this will answer all my questions, I think. This sounds pretty good. We've got a new reading program, I think, we're instituting. Is there coordination here? Because what I found out, there's a lot of kids that can't do a questionnaire kind of problem. 3 cars drove 50 miles and all of that stuff, and then they can't do the reading part of it in order to do the math part of it. They can do the math great if you tell them the answer, what the deal is. So we're coordinating with the reading program, sort of, so to speak.
Absolutely.
and we
Yeah,
know
I
that
mean,
that's
we wanted space between, like, implementation.
okay.
Most districts are on like a 5-year curriculum review, but we did wait quite a while for ours. And, different variables, but
Well, and just like our new reading program incorporates some new things like social emotional skills and things like that, work skills that connect to our work skills competencies. These math programs that we're looking into also have those pieces, so there are some similarities globally that we're trying to increase more higher order thinking, right? Higher level thinking, reflection, just kind of best practices, personalization. And so I guess it does kind of parallel in the sense that we're looking globally for certain features that these programs will offer our students.
And just to clarify, I don't know if this was the direction your question was going in either. When we look at programs at the primary level, I taught kindergarten and first grade for a long time, I'm in 4th grade now. But when we look at programs, we look at the amount of words that are on the page for those math programs in their books, so that you're really determining whether they can complete the math or whether there's too many words on the page. So those kids that are non-readers but are really strong in math have the ability to learn.
Okay.
So that's something, especially, I know that Meredith also has a primary background, so those are some of those things that we look at closely.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, thank you.
My last question, the middle school, 6th to 8th grade, are they still using Glencoe math?
They are.
And are you going to be looking at piloting 6 to 8 after this?
I think they have 3
Where-
years.
Yeah, we just did a 3-year license, but that program is going to be sunsetting. So we're waiting for the elementary school to make their decision, and then the middle school can work towards.
Okay, so the transition isn't as important
Yes.
right now, because
Right.
that program won't
Is it
be
a
the
good thing?
feeding program.
Is it a good thing we're getting rid of that, transitioning out of that? Are you happy with that 8th grade program, or do you think that needs to be the next step up?
No, I think it's time to review the middle school
Oh,
program
okay.
next
Yeah.
after, yeah. And then that way you build that
Mhm.
transition
Sure.
piece once they
Yeah.
do that pilot.
Okay.
And I know
That's your
our middle
subject,
school,
right?
they're very excited about both of these programs. So I've been talking with our other curriculum coach, Kathy, and they're very excited about both of these, so.
It's going to be great. Thank you so much.
Ms. McDonald, actually, this is kind of, I know with our joint meeting with Wakefield, they're
Yes.
looking at transitioning
Yeah.
and piloting, and I know that's Wakefield and everything, but knowing that we take those students at the high school level, you know.
Yeah,
when you
we've
talk-
actually been, we actually are working with,
So those questions are being appropriately
yes,
back
yes,
and
So
so
I've
forth.
been in contact with Ann
in
from
Kevlar.
Wakefield,
Yes.
and she needs to wait until the first week of June to
Yeah.
connect with me.
And especially at the 6th and 8th grade, you know, so when they transition to our high school, you know,
Yep.
the conversations, if we're all on
Yeah.
the same page, that'd be great. I know it's on their plate, but.
Yep, absolutely.
Go ahead, Matt.
So first, thank you for looking at getting rid of everyday math. I was dealing with that in the past, I'm like, I don't know what this is.
My Sylvan bill.
Exactly, same one. Is estimation one of the topics that's still covered in math class?
Absolutely.
Can I be officially saying to you this, and I said this to my daughter's math teacher, I fire people that do that for a living, so if any way you want to, that'd be great.
Well, that's
I wanna
just so we
estimate
know
your
whether
interest
things
rate
are
on your loan.
reasonable.
Yeah.
We just
Not
need,
for
we
just
make
saying
it
different
reasonable.
language.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that our math is reasonable.
Reasonably, I would estimate your
I just
mortgage
think it's
payment.
insane that we've had everyday math for 20 years.
Don't
So
worry,
now
we're
that we've
coming to
got
that.
parents that understand what everyday math is.
Still
Well,
don't
they-
understand it, Ann.
Well,
They
the-
have done a
the
great
new
job.
methods are still in there,
Yeah.
so don't be alarmed.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ladies, so
everybody.
much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
So they have been sitting here for 2.5 hours, and I think it's our due diligence to ask questions, but maybe if we know that there's somebody coming for instruction, can we put instruction in first, so that they don't have to listen to the other two?
Okay, good.
Over there,
Is that within, Sandy, did you hear that?
Yeah, the board can decide to move the agenda, you guys can decide to move.
I guess I would just say, if we know that there's people that are coming, instead of them having to wait 2 hours to get to that agenda, I would think that we would put that meeting, we're all in the same committee, so it's not like any of us get to leave or stay, but, so having, when we know we have somebody coming and speaking and they have to teach in the morning, maybe having that committee go first.
Only concern about that is publicly, we do a waterfall effect of our meetings, so it's policy, special services, instruction. If someone's like, oh, usually it's a little bit later, I come in for instruction, so for the public, there's no notice that there's a change of the, you're gonna change an agenda, but it's a change in the operation of the meetings. That's where we
What
need to
item
have
are
some.
we under, you guys?
Guys,
Does that make sense?
the decision would be made that night. Once we
Yes.
see that we have guests in the audience, the public's already here, right? Maybe we could make the change.
No, I understand what he's saying. He's saying that people might come at like 6:30.
Yeah.
Because they know that meeting's not till later.
Because
I
they're
get
bored
that.
with policy. That's too bad.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about 5-year plan, I think,
Instruction is
is on the agenda for Monday. So just be aware, there's a long list of things that we need to, those of us who are on the
5-year review.
5-year, we gotta prioritize. Matt, is there anything else we need to do Mr. Breath?
No, because I provide that summary to everybody of how this is working for the year, so there's no question.
Okay, any questions on that? Any public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there anyone else back there?
No,
It's just me, I'm lonely today.
All right, any other? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?